Software reseller agreements are essential tools for SaaS vendors looking to expand their reach through partner channels. These agreements create the legal framework that allows third parties to sell your software products to end customers under their own name. A software reseller agreement is a contract between a software vendor and another business that grants the reseller rights to market and sell the vendor's software to customers. Under this arrangement, the reseller enters into contracts with customers as the principal party, while the vendor remains in the background. There are two primary models for structuring these agreements. First are top-down arrangements, where the vendor predetermines the contractual terms the reseller must use with customers. These terms typically mirror the vendor's standard customer agreements and are included as a schedule in the reseller contract. Top-down agreements work well for high-volume deals with small and medium enterprises. When using this model with larger enterprise customers, the agreement must include standard compliance provisions, such as anti-bribery clauses, audit rights, information security requirements, and record-keeping obligations. Top-down agreements contain several key provisions to protect the vendor's interests. These include clearly defined license scope and restrictions, guidelines for brand usage, specific reseller obligations regarding service levels and customer onboarding, and flow-down obligations that must be passed to customers without modification. The second model is the bottom-up arrangement, where terms result from active negotiations between the reseller and each customer. While this approach offers flexibility, it creates significant challenges. These include customization fatigue as each client demands changes, inconsistent contract terms across customers, escalated liability risks when warranties deviate from vendor standards, and pricing complexity that can lead to margin erosion. Some customers may request three-party contracts that include both the vendor and reseller. However, these arrangements should generally be avoided. They create unnecessary complexity, are expensive to draft and negotiate, and often contain ambiguities that lead to disputes. If a customer wants a direct relationship with the vendor, a better approach is to have the reseller act as a referral partner instead. Alternatives to three-party structures include back-to-back agreements, where the vendor contracts directly with the customer, while the reseller provides implementation services under a separate agreement. Another option is the master reseller model, where one entity manages multiple sub-resellers in a region. Referral agreements can also work well, allowing resellers to earn commissions while the vendor maintains direct customer relationships. It's important to understand the distinctions between different partner types. Resellers and distributors purchase software from the supplier and resell it to customers under their own terms and conditions. The key difference is that distributors typically serve as intermediaries between vendors and multiple resellers. Agents, on the other hand, act on behalf of the supplier to find leads but don't enter into contracts with customers directly. Original equipment manufacturers incorporate the vendor's software into their own branded products, requiring specialized licensing terms. Companies use reseller agreements for several practical reasons. They solve problems when vendors lack sales channels or physical presence in a customer's country, cannot speak the local language, are unable to offer support during local business hours, or have terms that aren't compliant with local laws. Resellers address these challenges by selling directly to customers with legally compliant agreements in the local language and providing localized support. The business benefits of software reseller agreements are substantial. They enable scalable market entry without the overhead of establishing local operations. They accelerate revenue through existing customer relationships. They reduce localization efforts since resellers handle currency, compliance, and language issues. And they mitigate risk by shifting liability for local sales and support to the reseller. When drafting a software reseller agreement, several key considerations must be addressed. These include how to handle late payments and customer insolvency, whether to use value-added resellers who offer additional services, defining termination conditions, and determining if OEM or referral agreements might be appropriate. For international agreements, it's advisable to specify that the English version is legally enforceable. Legal teams should carefully address intellectual property rights to ensure the vendor retains ownership of the software. Clear termination and suspension clauses should cover breach, insolvency, and force majeure events, Data protection provisions must align with applicable laws like GDPR. Audit rights should allow vendors to verify compliance. Non-compete and exclusivity terms should define performance thresholds if territorial exclusivity is granted. And revenue-sharing structures should document how payments are tracked and settled. Software reseller agreements are powerful tools for expanding market reach when structured properly. By choosing the right model, clearly defining responsibilities, and addressing key legal considerations, vendors can build successful partner channels while protecting their business interest.